Well, what is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Mike Goolsby live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Man, Goolsby, if I would have told you before the season that the Irish would defeat Florida State 52-3, you wouldn't believe me. But here we are, Mr. Goolsby. And you were in the Midwest, right? I saw you did something with our boy John Kennedy.
Unfortunately, yeah, I had to come home for my Uncle Tim's funeral. Huge Notre Dame fan, by the way. Rest in peace. So he lost a battle with cancer. So I had to come home for a funeral. I was in and out, came in Friday night and I hit up John Kennedy. We're over there doing Patreon. I'm like, let's try and do something live.
I like it.
It's kind of the next evolution of this thing. So it was kind of a dry run. The lighting was poor. We always have tech issues, but once we kind of took us like an hour to get set up. And I know a buddy of mine through a Notre Dame connection, he owns a nice bar restaurant, Jameson's in Frankfurt.
Okay.
So he was kind enough to let us set up, and we'll see. It'll get better like everything else.
Sick. I like it. Well, lots to talk about, as we always do, discuss the game and then kind of what it means, big picture. Interested to see if you'll just give the time of the day looking big picture at the playoff and how many SEC teams and all that stuff, or if you'll just give me the one game at a time cliche. I don't know. Well, we'll see what Goolsby has to say there, but let's just go to Notre Dame just beating the doors off of a really bad FSU team. And I think this game can actually be summed up, Mike, when FSU is punting. They refused to make any adjustments when Notre Dame just kept tipping the punts and getting close, and they just did not do anything. Like, what FSU was bad. And that was a really, really poor football team, but Notre Dame put it to them.
Yeah, and that's the wrestling match of going into a show like this. I don't want to focus on how poor of a team FSU is, because that detracts from the dominance that you saw, particularly in the second half of the game. But yeah, that punt thing, if you were going to use a microcosm of them as a team, it was wild. I mean, 4 or 5 times, it's almost like you had a left-footed punter and you were going to, like sometimes they kind of run to their left and we're just going to let the right side go.
Yeah.
But we've had a number of games in a row that were kind of ho-hum wins, even though statistically in the scoreboard shows that it was a dominant beatdown, but it just never quite felt that way stylistically, Singer, until the second half of this game, where it really felt like a party. The crowd seemed to get really engaged. You got DJ Cool out there, dude, with the Let Me Clear My Throat performance. Big fan of that. And it just feels like after a series of ho-hum kind of wins, it's like I think that you could take a look back a day removed, 24 hours removed from the game, and kind of know what you have with this team.
Okay.
And it feels good. And specifically about the defense, Singer. Everybody wants to talk, and it's only natural, right? The shortcomings of the offense, where can we improve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if this defense can show up and travel, I didn't wear this shirt for no reason, Singer. Just saying. Just saying.
Shout out to Homefield.
New Homefield fit. Stuff finally came in the mail. Thanks, post office, for losing it the first time. But it's like, man, given the way this season's shaken out, we'll get to some of these SEC losses, I'm sure, but it's like, why can't we win the whole thing this year? With this defense, why can't we? I mean that.
Okay.
Our defense is stupid good, Singer.
So,
and now we turn the ball over. Remember we talked in the preseason, like, okay, where can this defense improve? And it's like turnovers. That's like the only thing left to develop and to focus on as a defense, and obviously stopping the run for sure. But it's like that's the pass rush, the turnovers, all of that stuff is kind of contagious.
So, man, I don't even know where to go with it. So you're telling me, like, is it like FSU, like what you saw last night? Was this like a kind of like a cherry on top to validate what you've been seeing the past few weeks, and now you're feeling super optimistic? Because, I mean, I don't want to take away from how Notre Dame played too, but it was a horrible FSU team. Like you can play really well and play a bad team, but that's very strong optimism. I'm just a little, not that you can't be optimistic, Mike, but we're talking championship, bro.
Look at this team, and then look at the landscape of college football in this year. And like the cannibalization in the Big Ten, like you're going to see it when IU plays Ohio State. And then you look at the SEC just eating each other alive. And it's like, oh, slippery Notre Dame might make some hay. I'm just telling you, if it wasn't for the defense.
Yes.
Because sometimes the offense can be so clunky that it really, sadly, it takes away from what the defense is doing.
Yeah.
And then you lose a Traore, you lose a Botello. You lose a Benjamin Morrison, bro. We don't skip a beat.
It's crazy. Yeah. Simkev says, I think Goolsby is right. There's no dominant team. Oregon, I mean, they've played really well. But, I mean, you remember those first couple games, Boise State and Idaho? So, yeah, I like it, Goolsby. I felt like through like 3-4 games of the season, we were talking about what is this offense's identity. I feel like we know the team's identity, and maybe this, like you kind of just touched on, like this FSU game, it put it all together. We know what this team is. They can beat anyone because of the defense, and the offense. It's anyone's guess as to who the receiving threat will be on any given day. Last night it was, more Greathouse and Evans. Sometimes it'll be more Bo Collins and Faison. The next day it's, Jaden Thomas and, Jaden Harrison or something. But still, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be up and down throwing the ball. Nothing really pushing deep. Maybe one here and there. But you're going to get incredible running by your backfield, and that includes the quarterback. So good special teams play. Yeah, Notre Dame, I think, can beat anyone in the country. There's no doubt about it.
And it's just been a fun team to kind of watch evolve, and your head coach too. Watch him evolve. The sideline demeanor is kind of locked in these last couple of weeks. But as much as I want to talk about the defense, you keep dragging me back into talking about the offense. So we'll touch on it real quick. Like you said, week to week, who's going to be the guy in terms of the focus on as a pass catcher? Watching these games, man, and this is something, Jared Clark, who he and I do the film breakdown on Patreon, it's like, if Riley tends to tuck it and run it, Singer, and find success, he says to hell with it. Like, very next snap, he does the same thing. Like, he almost gets kind of like lubed up. He's like, to hell with it. Same thing with his pass catchers. There was an instance in this game where Jaden Harrison kind of made that nice catch. I think it was a slot fade, 1 of 3 or 4 in this game. And then the next third down, Bo Collins was open, but Riley looked to Jaden because he made a play for him. So I think in this game in particular, we took more deep shots than I've ever seen. I'm sure Tim or somebody will chart it. Yeah, I've yet to actually do the film yet. And I don't know if our wide receivers did Riley any favors. Obviously, there were some painful drops, but there was a couple instances. It was Faison on a crosser. The ball's at his knees. He can't come down with it. Another kind of post-looking route. It's a little high. It would have been a beautiful catch by Greathouse. Totally catchable ball. He doesn't come down with it. So it's like, offensively, I still don't think Riley's comfortable throwing deep in between the hashes. He likes kind of outbreaking deep stuff. He's not comfortable throwing the ball deep over the middle of the field.
All right. Well, I got the chart for you. PFF does that. All right. So he was 1 of 2 outside left, past 20 yards, completed 1 for 26 yards. I'm guessing that was a slot fade. And then 2 for 3 on the outside right, 47 yards. And then, just 1 attempt, and it was an incomplete pass between the numbers. So you're on the money there, Mr. Gould.
So in total, there it's 6 deep balls, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably 2 or 3 more than what we've seen.
If you consider 20 plus yards a deep ball, then that's just what this chart says. 20 plus.
Well, in this offense, I mean,
right, correct.
And if you factor in, and you take a big step back, Offensive line's kind of been a bugaboo. We knew going into the game, Florida State had talented corners. They had a talented defensive line. Offensive line held up in the pass game. And yet, so Riley has time to hit some of those long developing deep plays against great corners. So it's like, has the offensive line figured out pass pro? Coming out of this game with that defensive line, it feels like they did.
John said real quick, a few catchable drop balls. Yeah, so yeah, I think he's 14 of 27, and I saw oh my gosh, his name's escaping me. He does a great job with Irish Sports Daily. Greg, he tweeted it was from PFF that like when you take out the or like the drops and the batted down passes, when you adjust that from PFF, the numbers are a lot different. So it's kind of one of those things. One more thing on the quarterback before we move on to something else, Mike. As you were talking, I was thinking about this. Like, what do you, I don't know if credit's the right word, but like, what do you credit the early season struggles to Leonard and then him playing, like looking like a different quarterback these past few weeks? Is it as simple as the reps that he didn't have and the familiarity with the receivers and whatnot, and now he does, and he just gets Denbrock more? Is it that simple, or do you think there's anything else? I don't know if you want to throw on a hat of any sorts for this, or what do you think?
Hey, the hat comes on at my discretion. No peer pressure over here, Singer. So is it as simple as him missing the spring and then getting caught up? I mean, nothing's cut and dry over here in Notre Dame world, but that's a huge piece to it. The kid misses spring. So like it was 3-4 weeks into the season, it was like, okay, here's the baseline. Here's where he should have been week 1 kicking off against A&M, where he got himself caught up. I think early in the season, even just being a Notre Dame quarterback, Singer, it's a totally different ball of wax than playing at Wake Forest or playing at Duke in the dumpster fire that is the ACC. I think there was, and Riley talked about this as much. There was multiple conversations back and forth with Denbrock in terms of what he's comfortable with, what he's not comfortable with. So it's just kind of evolved to a point. And then beyond that, first half of the season, the offensive line was bad in pass pro. I don't care what PFF says.
Yeah.
And it's like, so then if you put yourself in Riley's shoes, he's trying to become an actual quarterback versus an athlete playing the position, and he doesn't trust his offensive line, particularly his left side. And, oh, by the way, he has a propensity to just take off and run to his right. So all of those things kind of bled into one another. You got the left side fixed. He's comfortable. And now it's just, I can tell you, Singer, we love this quick game, quick screens. You saw Great House. I'm telling you, if we have dudes, or we get to the point where we get some dudes on the outside, and Tim Hyde will co-sign all over this. If we get some dudes that can put their foot in the ground and go, that quick game explodes. Because that's what it's, it's not drawn up, little bubble screen, little quick game to get 4 yards. It's drawn up to go to the crib.
Mark with the $5 chip says, Mike, I always liked you. Number 41, I remember.
That's right. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, buddy.
Mark, appreciate you. Jay Vitt says, Goolsby, I never thought I would see the day, man. That was super chat worthy. He sent this, I think, when you were getting hyped up. He said, 2 years of watching you guys, never heard you this positive. Keep the faith.
Well, and Jay Vitt's a Patreon guy. Appreciate the support as always. But I said, Singer, like to myself, if we handle Navy, like if we handle them, and granted they gave us the game, boy did they ever. But like if we have a dominant showing against the Navy, I'm all in. Like I'm all in. Well, there was just yeah. Because I mean, it was a top 25 team. I was like, if we put it to them, because I had some questions about the defense in that game, whatever. I was like, that was the turning point for me. And then going into the season, Singer, I tried to be mindful and take a more positive slant. But I'm telling you, as Freeman's evolved and something about Riley, hopefully the last couple thoughts about the offense, but there's something about Riley, I think, in a game where things get ratcheted up and it's kind of a pucker factor type game, I think Riley might play better. Because there are times where he's hesitant to just uncork that ball. And it's like, I think if the intensity's ratcheted up 40%, he's got no choice but to let it go. And if the passing game's not working, we go back to playing backyard football, and that's where he's most comfortable. He's a really interesting secret weapon that nobody wants, but it works.
I'm just you just said something there, and you said something earlier that made me think about this. Like, if Notre Dame plays a really good defensive coordinator in the play, like, and they have 3 weeks in that first round to prepare for Notre Dame, it's like, oh, these slot fades, we're gonna know when they're coming. Oh, your little draw that he scored the touchdown down the left sideline, that little I don't know what, but that play where they fake the handoff and then he just runs. Like, some of these things you start to watch Notre Dame for a few weeks and you get to watch their whole season. That would be a little concerning for me. But
well, you want to talk, if you want, we could walk it out.
All right.
You want me to pump some more sunshine here?
Hell yes. I am. Inject this into my veins, dude.
So it's like, and again, watching the All 22 on Patreon, links in the bio, Twitter bio, whatever. Al Golden, and this is not a shot at all, but like, man, Al Golden's a genius. And it's like, dude, when you watch the film, Singer, not really. It's like a ton of man, we'll disguise some coverages. Like, don't let me get off track, but we gave up a long run up the middle on third down. And it was like you had Schuler and Watts on the edge, and you had Kaiser blitzing. So it's a 5-man pressure. Watson, Schuler vacate, so they go like hook curl. Kaiser kind of gets caught in the wash, and there's nobody in the middle of the defense. So they just gash us. Bad play call versus the right offensive play call. But when you think about his scheme, heavy man, every blitz under the sun. So if we play, give me a defense, Singer, Georgia. We're playing Georgia.
Sure. Tennessee.
Okay. So if they're going to try to heat us up, you're going to have to play man. Can our wide receivers beat man coverage? Not necessarily, if at all. But then everybody in coverage has their backs turned. They're following their man. And all Riley's got to do is make one guy miss, and then he's completely unaccounted for in the run game. But if you're going to try to spy him or something, that's one less blitzer, And then the only other thing about, I guess, beating man, Mitch Evans is back, baby.
Yeah.
And he really seems to run hot and cold, which I kind of dig. He's kind of boisterous. And it's like he's a young man where it's like you got to get him the ball to keep him engaged. So he's back, and he's a guy you feel confident, in versus man coverage, safety blanket type thing.
The other one that I feel kind of confident is Bo. If you can get him the ball early, and Bo's having a good day, and he doesn't have the drop C's, Bo can cook. But if Bo drops an early ball or so, it's like, all right, we know. I don't know if it's Riley will lose confidence in. I don't know if Bo just struggles after it. Like, Bo's kind of the same. Like, if he gets hot, like, he's hot. But I think you at least have two right there, plus like a J Love. Faison can win one-on-one. J Love, coming out of the backfield lineup in the slot, he can win a one-on-one. So I think more this year than in years past, Mike. I think they have guys.
They do.
Who can win in one-on-one coverage. Yeah, Great House.
I don't know if any of the above is going to keep a Tennessee defensive coordinator up at night in the fashion that a Mitch Evans would.
I mean, I don't know if Mitch Evans is keeping anybody up at night right now. 2023 Mitch Evans, yes.
But I just said he's back, baby.
He played well. This
played very well. The catch that wasn't a catch, find me a wide receiver on this team that can make that catch.
Listen, I talked about this last night. I was like, he's back, but he had 2 catches for 21 yards. Even give him the one that was close. It's still not like he had this just crazy game, but Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, but it sounds
just
like, is it does Stinger want an alpha? I mean, do you want a Calvin Johnson Megatron like go-to guy? Because that's not been this offense. Every game, 6, 7, 8 guys catch balls. It's just not the way it is. Like Faison, I felt like it was a focus the week prior, and Greathouse is a focus this week. But
how about this? You know what's crazy?
Haven't even talked about the defense yet. What a shame.
We'll get there. I promise.
Right.
Jaden Harrison versus Chris Mitchell. Statistics. 12 receptions for one of them, 13 for the other. You would not think that, right? Chris Mitchell plays so much more. Chris has one more reception. How about Jaden Harrison has 150 receiving yards and Chris Mitchell's 125? Chris Mitchell has a couple touchdowns. Jaden Harrison is not. But, like, that is – I think some of Jaden Harrison's stuff has been in, garbage time. Like he had the slot fade that Angeli threw against Purdue. But I was looking through just some stats, Mike, and some of this was just surprising looking through it. And that was one of the things. Greathouse having 310 receiving yards and a lot more than anyone else. Sans Bo Collins was a little surprising as well, because it seems like Greathouse has been so hit or miss. But one of these years, Mike, we're going to get a receiver with like 700 receiving yards. It's been a few years, but maybe one of these years. I don't know.
And that's in real life, not in the video game, just to be clear.
That's correct. Just when Andy Gale
when you went through your season, Singer, real quick, who was your guy? Was it Bo? When you played the video game?
I really don't remember. If Jay Carr or Mark are in here, I'm sure they would remember. But it was probably Bo or Greathouse.
Got it.
And there was a specific quarterback who led them to the national title game. I can't remember. Just one Andy Gale, kicking off my GoFundMe to double golden salary for 2025. Hello, bro, is the word. And he's having so much fun. Yeah. This defense, Mike. No Ben Morrison. And you had that great tweet about like he should get so much credit for making this Notre Dame secondary a strength. Like he has had impacts for Notre Dame on the recruiting trail, right? Like DBs want to come to Notre Dame. It's a cool place to go play in the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
And he's out. This is no disrespect to Ben Morrison, but in the few games he's been out, it's a testament to how good Leonard Moore has been. This secondary is outstanding. The corners, like the guys with the most experience, Ben Morrison, Jaden Mickey, both gone. Just keep on rolling. So what's on your mind with this defense before we go to some more super chats?
Yeah, it's elite. And I think that if you just we'll start at the front and work your way back.
Okay.
The heartbreaking loss of Traore, because Traore was like, he's playing well, dude. And I think he's going to be a really special. I cannot wait for next year. You got Bryce Young at one end and Traore at the other. Good night.
Mm-hmm.
Good night. But those guys go down, and we just kind of start rolling in football players. Josh Burnham's been a quarterback, linebacker in high school. He's playing Viper. Now he's playing strong side end. Junior Tuialamaka started for us as a true freshman. He's out there. They may not be the most like skilled pass rushers. Again, they're still learning, but boy, do they play hard, and they're just great football players. Mm-hmm. Mills has showed up. I've tried to be difficult on Riley Mills, and it's like he's gotten better, but he needed to. Gabe Rubio is going to be a stud. I think he comes back next year, right, Singer? Does that sound familiar?
Yep.
I mean, there's times where I'd prefer to have Gabe Rubio. If it was a rundown, I'd prefer to have him in the game as opposed to Riley Mills. Just saying. And he plays hard too, got a lot of shit to him, a lot of like extracurricular stuff. And that's just all energy to me. Heinisch, of course, plays well. He's just an easy kid to root for. You just don't want to see him get double teamed. Because I think you and I weigh more than Heinisch does, Singer. But can't say enough about Bryce Young in particular. And I did see Horka tweeted about like the PFF grades, and Bryce Young's down there in terms of like how he played. Bryce Young's going to be so damn good, Singer.
Yeah.
It's like every week he gets like 5% better. I mean, you push this thing out a couple years from now, but just really impressed with the D line. And it's real specific to this game. Sneed's made plays 2-3 games in a row, and I'm here for it. Another just high energy guy. I thought the kid that had the best game on the defense, and he's kind of slept on because Bowen got some love there, a month ago. Kaiser's playing his tail off, Singer. Kaiser's playing his tail off. And on the back end, it's like, I mean, you want to talk about who's your defensive MVP? Watts, Mills, Craw. I mean, Jordan Clark's been exceptional. I'm sorry.
I would say it's got to be Watts, but yeah, Clark gets a shout.
When you look at that defense in particular, though, you can't do it without Jordan Clark. Mm-hmm. You couldn't do it without Bracey, and you couldn't do it without Thomas Harper last year. I mean, just 3 great nickels in a row, and he's the best of the 3 by a pretty wide margin. And then the secondary, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. But just if without those corners and without that evolution at the position of it not becoming a strength, Golden would struggle. I mean, he's just got a luxury having those dudes out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Xavier Watts is I think my team MVP for the season. I just wanted to give him some love.
That's fine. Oh yeah, he was a great player,
or at least defensive. Yeah. This the defense traveling well. Every week they're going to play well. There's just such a confidence rather than if you have just a high-powered offense and your defense is, a strainer. It feels really good to have the defense that's outstanding, Mike, and then an offense that, it can stall. It won't look pretty all the time, but Mike, Notre Dame is not really turning the ball over.
Yep.
I don't know how I would get to that stat real quick, but they're playing good, smart football. So I know people want, the back-to-back Georgia. Yeah, it works. It works. I know people want the high-flying offense and the shutdown defense and, amazing kicking and punting and, the perfect coaching. But Notre Dame doesn't have that. But they do have – it's good, like, complimentary old-school football. But Notre Dame's doing it at a really high level.
There's a couple things because I think we're plus 10, plus 11 in terms of turnover margin. To me, the most important stat in football. You mentioned confidence on defense. That kind of triggered something in my brain. Back to this game, and most of our games, Singer, we've been talking about it for years on here, brother. It's like, who's going to step up and make a play?
So many.
Somebody, please make a play. This game, Cross hurts his ankle, next 2 snaps, Mills, doing his boom, right? And it's like that, the team caught fire after that. That was the turning point in this game because granted, he was unblocked on his first one, but it still counts, And it was like, that's a captain stepping up and making a play. You've seen Drake Bowen do stuff like this in the past. Watts, assert himself. So that's something, but offensively, in terms of the lack of turnovers, midway through the season, Freeman had some kind of wonky pre-game comments, like halftime comments, post-game comments about Riley Leonard, do exactly as you're told to do. Don't play outside of don't try to make plays as in you play out of character. You can probably pull up that tweet I had when, Denbrock was kind of scolding Riley and then Coach Freeman kind of pulled him over.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to tweet that, but then Jared Clark, who's a head coach of a state championship, dominant team, top 10 team in Florida, Jared tweeted me at the exact same time. I'm like, should I post that? He's like, you have to post it. And that's coming from a head coach in Coach Clark, who's also boys with Urban Meyer, come to find out, boys. But when I get to the lack of turnover on that play, design play for for Riley to throw it out to Mitch in the flat down by the goal line. Riley doesn't throw it, pulls it down, rolls to his left. I think he tries to hit Faison. So this is right after the play. Oh, I forgot something, Singer.
Yes.
So Denbrock's kind of chewing his ass. And then as he's chewing his ass, Riley's just like exiting screen left or whatever, you know? He's walking away from him. No eye contact either. And he goes right to Freeman. He doesn't look at Denbrock until Freeman grabs his arm.
So what do you think this
field speed, Singer? Jesus.
I have my reasons, brother, but okay.
Oh, I understand. My bad.
You're good.
Yeah. So it feels like if I take the whole season into account and it's working, and Freeman's like, I got an elite defense. As long as we can run the ball and just matriculate the ball downfield, as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, pick six, Tyler Buckner, pick six, Sam Hartman, it's like we got a shot. So Denbrock's like, you got to let that go. And Freeman's like, it's okay, Riley. I told you in private, unless you're comfortable, tuck that ball. You don't throw anything unless you feel comfortable with it.
So does Clark agree with you on that? Like, is he see it the same way?
Talk about it. Okay. But he was like, you have to tweet that. Because I was like, I don't want to stir the pot too much. But it does feel like that if anybody wants to push the ball, it's Denbrock. And I think if anybody wants to play conservative, it's Freeman. And it feels like Riley's kind of caught in limbo there. And I think could be accurate. I don't see how you could see that any other way. And it puts Riley in a bind. Remember that pick was at NIU when he had that woeful underthrow?
Yeah.
It was like he was trying to uncork it, and he was like, no. He was like, I shouldn't be doing this.
I think that was Freeman's way of saying he was holding them and say, you do not keep walking. You need to listen to your coach. That's how I saw that. Like, you need to sit here. Don't
you
keep
really
walking.
Believe that? You really
I do.
That?
I do. I do.
Okay. See what Clark says about it. That's not how I read it.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could go with it. I could come up with a lot of different other theories. I would like to see, does your all 22 get that? Can you get that? Can you see them on it? Can you get the sideline where
no.
you can see that would be incredible, because I would want to know
the sidelines. You just saw what it was.
I want to know at what all did Freeman see here? Because did he even see? I don't know. Maybe he was wanting to talk to Riley or himself, and
that's fair too. Because maybe Freeman was like, Riley, get over here, but it looks like Riley's running away from Denbrock. It looks like it,
right? So where I think Freeman grabbed him, be like, you get your ass chewed out and you accept it. That's personally how I see it.
I don't see it that way. I believe that if anybody wants to, and then go back to what game was it? Late in the game, we threw a deep shot, remember? And then Freeman was up covering his mouth with the mic, and he was like, and he was like, do not throw that ball deep. Like, we're up by whatever it was, a couple, 2-3 scores. Like, don't do it. And I think Denbrock is kind of like, has his pedal to the metal, and I feel like, which is fine. Freeman's the head guy. I don't disagree with it, but it's an interesting dynamic to kind of pay attention to. I don't want to make too much of that. I just thought it was interesting.
I don't think there's if I'm right or if you're right or I'm something else, I can't imagine there's anything that's too bad there. It's, I'm sure everything's fine. Everything's kosher. Zeus says, I have that same shirt, Goolsby. And then Dr. Parnell said, Goolsby has not skipped biceps this week. Wow, that t-shirt. It's getting a workout. So, folks, I do want to say, if you want this shirt too, we have a great opportunity for you. And there it is. This is their new heavyweight shirt. So this is the Notre Dame 1988 National Champs Vintage Heavyweight Tee. Goolsby, you also said you had this one next to it, the retro monogram Vintage Heavyweight Tee.
I got a bunch, man.
Yeah, I got my Homefield order in recently too. And
if I win the lotto, first thing I'm doing is going to homefield.com.
Buying every single thing they have. like I grew up a Georgia Tech fan. I don't know if a lot of people know that. And I got myself a Georgia Tech basketball shirt just to like as a nod to, my childhood growing up in the Atlanta area. Like this stuff, Homefield's really, really incredible, folks. So with the Irish making that run to the college football playoff, get geared up, folks. Do it. You got to do it right now. Okay, it's the premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis. You get the brand new clothing with a retro look, but no retro tears or smells. Homefield rolling out new stuff as well. The heavyweight t-shirts they have. I think the designs they've had before, but this material, the heavyweight material, Goolsby could talk about it. I didn't get any of those, but Goolsby can.
You missed out, Mike. You missed out, buddy.
Tell me about it.
I would say this, depending on how soft you are, and you're kind of a Southern boy, but these heavyweights, I think you could wear it in 50-degree weather and be okay. I mean, are you going to, sit there for 3 hours, watch a football game? No. But if you want to rake your lawn or something, it's dense. It's nice, man. And there's a little strap. They're really nice. I would say size up, though. This is a double XL. Whoever's talking smack about my schmedium, it's a double X. Into the hoodies in particular, I went triple X in the hoodies.
Okay.
Size up, maybe, depending on how you're built.
Yeah. Like for me, the two fits perfectly. So yeah. But
you've been hitting biceps.
I have been hitting the gym a little bit more recently.
Holding that baby, that counts.
Dude, I was doing some bouncing. She goes to sleep when I have her on the bouncing ball, right? And my back started to hurt, Mike, and I was like, shit, dude. Sorry for cussing. I was like, I have to hit the gym. So maybe also it's like it's a way to get out of the house a little bit, but loving it. Loving hitting the gym again. Your boy needs it. But anyways, folks, going to make sure you use the promo code BGI, which is good for 15% off your first order at Homefield. Again, folks, promo code BGI, 15% off your first order. Check out Homefield Gear Up for really any time of the year. I mean, this stuff, lacrosse tee. Where else are you going to go get yourself like a really neat looking Notre Dame national title lacrosse tee, and in that same order, get yourself a Notre Dame Fighting Irish tennis crew neck? I'm going to click on this and see if this review is from me. It wasn't, but you have others that love this thing. So there you go. All right. Thank you very much to Homefield for sponsoring this week's show. We got some super chats. Just one, Andy Gale. Thank you again for your super chat. Jonesy says 2 questions. Was Strouth out?
No.
Strouth played. It was the same O-line that they played for the Navy game. And then did you hear Blackledge call us out for running up the score after a touchdown pass to Colsey? Thoughts? I'll give my thoughts real quick. Don't care, as usual, about the announcers. I am glad that we're talking about Notre Dame running up the score, though, versus other things that they could be ratting or talking crap about Notre Dame for. So how about that? That's my take. I love hearing that you're running up the score because that means you're getting a blowout win. So that's my thought.
No, I didn't listen to Blackledge talk about that, but I think that's a couple weeks in a row where the media has kind of chided us but it's like, do you not realize what's at stake, Mr. Blackledge? And that stylistically, style points, all of this stuff, anything you can do to impress the committee matters. So absolutely. And happy for Colsey, but I watched it back. I watched the game again right before I went live with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, did he high point that ball? Nah. Run underneath and catch it.
He didn't need to. You know why he didn't need to?
He's 6'5".
The throw was just so damn perfect.
It was a nice ball. Steve almost took another sack.
I missed it. I missed it. Can someone please, if you watch the game back, just take a video of that play, or Goolsby when you do your all 22. I didn't see the play.
I'll post it on Twitter and I'll tag you.
Perfect.
He was staring, got hit, knew his outlet was over here, made a hell of a play as he's almost going down. Like one of the more athletic things you'll ever see him do. But was he staring. He was staring. It's like,
my boy Steve was a hooper back in the day, man. A different life. Steve is playing point guard for Notre Dame. Just old school.
Hey, speaking of point guards, didn't Georgia Tech have a point guard? Who's their better player in that era that you became a fan?
Stephon Marbury was a little bit before my time, like Stephon Marbury, Chris.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, like a light-skinned point guard. Okay, it was Marbury. That's what I was thinking of. Anyway, carry on.
Hold on. Now I got to Google that just in case. Just in case I'm wrong. I feel like I would get flamed.
I've got some interesting thoughts here. Okay, oh yeah, I understand.
95 to 96. So I was 2 and 3 years old, but yeah.
Got it.
Fun times. Jonesy, appreciate the $10 super chat. John said, Goolsby, thoughts on Riley Denbrock Freeman incident? What looked like Marcus Mother Henning Riley from Big Bad Denbrock. Okay, so John saw it the way you did. Mike.
But John's over there on Patreon too, so maybe that's just my tinfoil influence, But that's how it appeared to me, and I think that Coach Jared Clark's going to have the same sentiment because he texted me right as I was about to tweet it out or whatever, and I was like, because it really grabbed him too. But it's not. I mean, it's football. There's nothing. Let's not make too much of it. But I do believe hook me up to a lie detector test. Freeman wants to throttle back. Denbrock wants to throttle down. When you get into one of these games where you need to score points, because it's like in most of our games, Singer, it's like throw the first quarter out the window. Yeah. Their offense is going to drive down and score. We're going to clunk it up on offense for the first quarter, and then we find our groove. So it's like throw their first offensive drive out the window. It doesn't matter. We always come back and patch things up. And we always stink on offense first drive. Save for Riley, getting us out of jail with a scramble this game.
Okay.
But it might come a time where we need to put points up, where maybe their offense scores on their first 2 drives and we're down 14-0. That could happen.
Someone said something in the comments that I wanted to pop up. Where did it go? Jarrett Jack was the guy also that he was the point guard that I did grow up specifically, but yeah, I couldn't tell you anything that's happened with Georgia Tech sports in the past several years. But anyways, John, appreciate you. JVit with another stinger. Can we get a little
Miami
recruiting love? Yes. One of my favorite moment of being a Georgia Tech fan as a kid was Georgia Tech beating Miami at Miami. Calvin Johnson, I think it was like 4th and long. Reggie Ball threw him up a deep ball. Calvin Johnson just laid out and made a diving catch. And that was great. Good times. Can we get a little recruiting love on this episode with Goolsby on? Interested to hear some of the mutual views after this weekend. Yeah, Sundays after a big recruiting weekend are kind of like just scrambling to get as many interviews. And then Monday is more of the dust has settled a little bit. So I should have more on the Blue and Gold website for you. And we do have a really good offer, JVit. I do not remember if you're on the website as well, but our offer is $1 for 7 days, kind of as a trial. And if you like it, 50% off your first year. So, and I think 50% off comes up being like $60. So do $60, over a 365-day period. Pretty solid there. So JVit, some more recruiting information we'll have. But I talked to Jalen Wiggins a couple hours before the show started, and that seemed to go. His official visit went really well as a defensive lineman from Tallahassee, coincidentally, and he's committed to Florida. And I think Notre Dame's got a really good shot to flip him. You also had Derek Meadows, Nathaniel Boateng, Madden Faremo. The vibe seemed to be really good coming off the visit, but I don't believe there's anything like imminent happening, but we'll see. In terms of those guys, I think like your Antoine Parham and Nolan James, Tulane receiver commit and Boston College running back commit respectively. I think we might see something from those guys this week, but that's the quick update for you.
Nolan James, what's his measurables? Is he like 210? Is he a pretty big kid?
I believe he's listed at 185.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to watch his film.
He is have you looked at the stats at all?
I've heard some people talking about him, but no, I've yet to. Yeah. You know me, I don't watch it until like they commit, really. Sure. But
Yeah, over 500 carries already at the high school level. So you can imagine playing a very competitive ball in New Jersey, and I think he might end up with 4,000 career rushing yards, which is pretty wild.
Sure.
MB says, wore my J Love hoodie yesterday, and shout out to Patreon, all 22. It's so good. Well, MB, appreciate the kind words. Goolsby kills it over there, man.
No, it's all Coach Clark. Great hire. And I'm blown away at how good he is doing it. And it's the whole game on offense, every single snap. So it's like, golly. But where else was I going to talk about? I just had some other kind of loose ramblings, unless you have more.
Yeah, one more
Sure.
super chat. Mike, I was just pulling up the notes as well. Jonesy also said they showed starting a line as Knapp, Pendleton, Coogan, Spindler, Wagner. Were they wrong? They were
wrong.
Yeah, it was Wagner, Spindler. Let's see, Knapp, Schrouth, and then the Coogan at center. That was it. And then Auding, Pendleton, who got his ass chewed out, Absher, Tarek, and someone else, or that was the 5. Do you have thoughts on the Pendleton thing?
Yeah.
Is that like Freeman developing, or do you like seeing that? Because that wasn't Freeman in 2022 or something. Like Freeman, or it may be just the broadcast didn't show, but Freeman got on Sam Pendleton.
Here's what I think about that incident, and I want to talk about Freeman bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Keep me on track as always. That incident with Pendleton, I loved everything about it. I love what Pendleton did, and I love Freeman's reaction to it. Because there was a couple different times where there was a roughing the passer where number 0 on Florida State, jumped into Riley's face. It started to get a little bit sketchy, right? And then so for Pendleton to stick up for a teammate and throw his weight around, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I love it, especially for a kid that's wired like that. Go back and watch it. I don't know if it was the holder or who it was. It was like some pudgy kid wearing like number 36, clearly some sort of walk-on specialist type. And he's walking Pendleton off the field, and Pendleton's like literally twice the size of it. It was a fun visual. And then Freeman's reaction to it, I thought was perfect. I loved everything about it. And as much as Freeman wants to chew Pendleton's ass, deep down as a former Big Ten linebacker, he loved it too. But he's gotta, put his foot down. I get it.
Okay.
I don't think Sam Pendleton's running, gassers because of it. Now, Freeman as a whole, not too dissimilar from like Roddy Leonard when you asked about like, how do you account for his development? Part of that, I think there was some shock and awe of being the Notre Dame quarterback and the pressure and the eyeballs and the criticism and all of that. And he probably got his bearings a little bit. He still has that all shucks personality to him. I think a lot of the same things could be said for Freeman. And then when he got here, he's, never been a head coach before. He's trying to figure out all the things that make Notre Dame Notre Dame. He's not trying to step on any toes or break any glass. And then after that NIU loss, it's like he's got to be himself. And if that hurts somebody's feelings or the fans don't like the way this is, now his face isn't turning purple a la Kelly, but he's letting him hang, Singer.
There is 1 billion% been a shift with Freeman since the NIU game. You can see it in the press conferences, Mike. This is no tinfoil hat needed. He is just, I think before he's maybe trying to win the press conferences and stuff, there's a lot of, winning the just kind of the media, that kind of thing. I think he doesn't, not that he didn't care less about winning. I just think he just doesn't care about that crap at all anymore. Are you tracking with me?
Nope.
No.
Say what you're trying to say. Are you saying he's become a little bit edgier in press conferences?
No, he just doesn't care. I don't think he wants to be there.
Got it.
I think before he's like, all right, I think getting positive buzz about the program and people writing good things about us helps. I think now he just doesn't give a crap. I really don't think he cares. And he's shorter in his press conferences.
I love it.
Yeah. I don't think he cares at all.
So he's getting a little bit more. It's like he's leaning more towards that Belichick like curmudgeonly approach to the press conference.
Yeah. He's got a ways to go until he gets there. But yeah, he's
still wearing sleeves. Yeah, but I get it.
Yeah. So that's
so it's been an absolute development, and I saw his pregame little on-field hit. Singer double bags.
I thought of you when I saw it. Yeah,
double bags under his eyes.
Gonna watch this. Yeah.
Did you catch the double bags under his eyes? He looks tired, and I'm like, yes, Marcus. He's grinding. He looked tired.
Goolsby, I was driving today, and I was thinking about you, as I often do. It's our 5th season together, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite Goolsby, this is what makes you so good, Goolsby, is you have a lot of memorable takes that are just very evergreen. How you like your coaches to not be super polished, like in appearance, right? You always liked when Tommy Rees just was 3 weeks behind on shaving. You remember this? You remember this take? You're like, I want him to be staying up late. And I want my coach to look tired as crap because, in the lab scheming, working on whatever. So a long way to say, is that kind of why you like the double bags there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be fancy fresh 9-10 games into a season. It's a grind. Personally, I want you up burning the midnight oil, all of that, man. Absolutely. I want your chest, I don't want I don't want to be as jacked as he is, because I'm like, that is 10 hours a week in the gym, 6 to 10 hours a week in the gym to maintain that. That's 6 less hours we're watching film or whatever is the case. Just saying, man.
You have good takes, dude.
Oh, here's another one for you.
All right.
We talked about Freeman's development. We talked about the penalty. Something else.
Folks, please hit the thumbs up on the video if you have not done so yet. Go ahead, Google.
Yeah, hit the thumbs up. How about DJ Ugliunlier, kind of like an early poster boy for NIL, all things NIL. And his father, Big Dave Ugliunlier, is a really good follow on Twitter because they kind of understand how to play the game. So DJ was basically a star at Clemson, got a deal with some fast food chain down there. I can't remember it, not Crystals, but and then DJ's made a ton of money, broke his little finger on his throwing arm. And just the visual of him with not 2 chains, but 3 chains. He's got the big Jesus piece on the sideline. It's like this guy's out there wearing $100,000 chain, taking notes on a clipboard. It was just a really interesting kind of like dichotomy. Your big dollar quarterback with the Jesus piece hanging out, Kanye Jesus piece, big medallion over there taking notes. It was just such a contrast.
Yeah.
You couldn't miss it.
Steve Dillon posted this earlier. How did this team lose to NIU? It really is. All right, so here's the thing. You did lose to NIU. This is the beauty and maybe the issues, depending on where you stand on this, with the college football playoff, that you can lose to NIU and still host a playoff game, right? You're not going to get the 5 seed to then play the group of 5 team in the 12, most likely, but you still can host. But, so it's great from a Notre Dame standpoint, but if you hate Notre Dame, then you're like, how can this team host a playoff game with that loss? I think about NIU all the time, Mike. I think how Steve did. How did this team lose to NIU? But then I also, Mike, I like in a way that they lost to NIU and not one of those big 3 games before the start of the season, or throw in a Louisville or Army or Navy. Well, I guess they haven't played Army yet, but assuming they beat Army, because you can just call it a fluke. You can just call it a fluke and move on. Because that's what it is. You beat A&M. You beat. I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. You can just call that NIU game a fluke. It was the second game of the season. I think that's kind of easy to do. You can't ignore it, but you just call it a fluke, and that's what I've been doing because it was a fluke.
Yeah, they kind of caught lightning in a bottle. I think they stunned us on that. That good little running back that they had. I'm just looking at ESPN here. That Brown, remember, it was like KVA in coverage and a safety coming down, just miraculous catch. And I was like, we were kind of reeling from that. And Riley was still developing. He threw 2 picks in that game, which is critical. And they were able to run the ball. They ran for almost 200 yards against us. And that quarterback was kind of dealing that game, if you remember. But if you are going to beat Notre Dame, if you're going to hang with our defense, you have to run the ball. That's not – and that was there. It was like 3 yards on first down, 2nd and 6.5, 4 yards on second down. It was like now we're in 3rd and short, run the ball again. It was like that's kind of the recipe. Throw in some trick plays there. But that's how it happened. And it's not like – Northern Illinois, what are they currently? They're not a great team.
Don't look.
No, they're 5-4.
Yeah.
2-3 in the MAC. So it happens. And you got to factor in the sleepy day game at Notre Dame Stadium. Coming off the big win at A&M. There's a lot of things. Oh, here's why we lost. Jeez. Sometimes it takes me to get these. That's on Freeman because we took Thursday off. We did a walkthrough on Thursday. That's why. And then you let that team know, those young men, it's okay to take their foot off the gas. Freeman's not going to do stuff like that anymore. That'll never happen again.
I talked about this earlier in the show. We'll see if Goolsby entertains this. So this was the college football playoff rankings, November 5th. We'll get the new rankings Tuesday night, and then Tim Hyde and I will be live 8 p.m. Eastern right after, I think maybe a half hour after the rankings update. So Miami's going to drop. How far? TBD. What else happens here? Oregon won, Ohio State won. Georgia
they put out
lost.
the new AP. They put out the new AP poll, right, Mike?
They did. So
let's look at that. Not from 2 weeks ago.
Well, a week ago, but the AP poll was pretty similar to the playoff poll as much as
it's all good. Poll. Just a week ago, that's a hip hop song.
So Bama, after beating LSU, and Ole Miss after beating Georgia, below Notre Dame in the AP poll, as well as Georgia, and Miami dropping all the way to 12. That's a big drop. I was really curious. These 4 teams, Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Miami. This is what the AP poll says. Doesn't really mean jack shit unless the College Football Playoff Committee is so lazy they just use the AP poll. How these 4 teams are going to stack up with Notre Dame, we'll find out on Tuesday. And I tweeted this. It got a lot of interest from people. How Notre Dame ranks compared to the 2-loss SEC teams. Absolutely fascinated. I have no idea how the committee is going to view it. Will they be like the AP poll and value Notre Dame just having the 1 loss and then, believe it or not, some quality wins, beating A&M and Louisville. Even start Georgia Tech on there after they just beat Miami, Navy, right? So we'll see. What do you think about some of this stuff, Mike?
We'll see. Great show. Appreciate you singing. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So some of this is like recall. It's just interesting how it's shaken out, and that we beat Georgia Tech, who beat Miami. But when we beat Georgia Tech, they didn't have their quarterback who kind of makes the offense go, right? We beat Florida State, who beat Ole Miss. What's the other one I'm missing in here, Singer? There's another one of these like.
No. Florida State did not beat Ole Miss.
Who'd Florida State beat earlier in the year?
Cal.
No, Florida State had a big win earlier in the year. But this is why I don't like doing this exercise, because I have to recall stuff from. Florida State beat. See how good of a I take that back.
I figured.
This is why I hate doing this stuff. Recall CTE is real. I've said it for years. My recall is terrible. I don't know, dude. So you're telling me if we make it in at 8, who are we playing? We're playing one of these 9, 10, 11, 12s?
It would look something like this. Like an Ole Miss. You can flip an 8 or 9 here. Something like this.
Don't love it.
You don't like the idea of playing Ole Miss? Is there any?
I don't like the idea of playing Alabama or Ole Miss or Georgia.
Why?
Because there are SEC teams that have been in that like environment before, maybe save for an Ole Miss. They're built for it. You know, I'd much rather see a Penn State.
Yeah, much rather see a Penn State. But where's that optimism from Goolsby that started the show? That we can beat anybody.
You can't beat anybody, but given my druthers, I'd rather play somebody else in a perfect world.
It's pretty damn likely that it's going to be one of the. I would think it's going to be one of those 2-loss SEC teams that they get. I don't think they're going to end up getting.
But you're telling me though that would be at home.
In an ideal world, yes.
Okay.
It really. I think we're going to learn everything we need to know about how the committee really views Notre Dame based on how they stack them up compared to Ole Miss, Bama, Georgia, and then even the 1-loss Miami. Which this bracketology.
I don't worry about I think we would melt Cam Ward.
Oh yeah.
We would destroy Cam. He's out there dicking around, you know, kind of showboat. He's like Caleb Williams light. But he ain't Caleb Williams, right?
Are there any quarterbacks that you love? This is me talking as a Dolphins fan. Are there any quarterbacks you love? If Tua's done for, I don't know who I'm really excited about. I'm not a huge Cam Ward guy. As an NFL, I don't like Shedeur Sanders as a NFL quarterback for my Dolphins. Like as a Dolphins fan, Is there anyone that you really like?
Get back to me come draft time.
Okay.
Get back to me.
I didn't know if you've just been, you sit around and watch.
I'll tell you, man, I watch so much Notre Dame stuff. Like
Well, that's why I'm asking you.
Last weekend, I watched some NFL. I haven't watched any NFL, like not even a minute. Like I didn't turn on the TV today to watch any NFL.
Welcome to my world, brother.
Yeah, so I'm just not that familiar.
You're good.
But yeah, I mean, I do think it's a realistic possibility because the defense travels. If given the choice of playing a Penn State or a Georgia, I would absolutely pick a Penn State. Not to say that we couldn't beat them, but it does make you nervous. Now, if you got to bring some of those Southern athletes to play in 40-degree weather in December in Notre Dame, 30-degree weather, that's a little bit of an equalizer.
Look, people call me crazy for my Shedeur and Cam takes. I don't like the circus stuff. I don't want it for my quarterback. I just don't. I don't like it. That's just me.
What don't you like? You lost me.
Just the Deion Sanders family kind of circus. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Not for my quarterback. I don't like any of it. But also, I'm a Dolphins fan, so all I know is pain. So it's been brutal. So maybe this is exactly what we need. And I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to being a Dolphins fan and know what they want a quarterback. I am. You can tell, huh? Ready to wrap it up?
Yeah,
folks,
man.
Please hit the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. Goolsby, great show. You brought it as always. We will be live. Hopefully talking about a big Notre Dame win over Virginia, and Goolsby's going to, talk national championships again after beating an okay Virginia team.
Well, last thought, I don't see the problem in that. I mean, we're this close. We're knocking on the door. And I hope that the fan base, I was a little disappointed in the first, you could say what you want about NBC's broadcast. Did they turn the crowd noise down or whatever? But that was a freaking snooze fest for the one and only night game against the Florida State. So disappointing and it seemed like it ratcheted up in the second half. But I think it's okay for the fan base to catch fire a little bit. I do.
Yeah.
And hopefully that reflects in terms of like the in-game stadium kind of experience. Let's bring some confidence with us.
All right, everyone. Appreciate you watching or listening. Hit the thumbs up. Leave us a 5-star review on podcast if you have not done that yet. Subscribe, of course, to our YouTube channel. Head over to blueandgold.com. Goolsby's Patreon is linked in his Twitter bio. Appreciate you all. And as always, we will catch you next time.